The 2024 NFL draft is less than a week away. The experts are saying that up to 5 quarterbacks could go in the first round, and there's a possibility of 4 going in the first 4 picks. The gurus have all made their selections, and know this: for our NFL teams and franchises, if you miss on a quarterback in the draft, it sets your organization back years and years. That's how important this is. I'm going to take the top 5 quarterbacks in the draft this year, and I'm going to list today in the order in which I would draft them. This is my take. This is QB Unfiltered, and this is my take. Before I give you my draft order, I'm going to list what I believe is the stripped down job description for NFL quarterbacks. It starts with win. Just win, baby. They come in all shapes and sizes, and at the end of the day, statistics really don't matter. It's whether you win or not. Number 2, execute the offense. Plain and simple. Execute the offense, move the ball, move the sticks, score points. And number 3, you're the face of the franchise, and you have to provide the proper leadership, the proper scope, the proper expectation level to all the other players on the team. That's part of your job description. Okay, and then finally, I'm going to give you the 4 areas in which I critique quarterbacks. These are the 4 areas that I believe that every quarterback must master in order to be a top level guy. So we've got physical ability, mental ability, leadership, and miscellaneous. That's the criteria that I'm using to rank these guys on how I would draft them. So here we go. My number 1 selection, I think, is the best quarterback in the 2024 draft is Jayden Daniels out of LSU. And I'm going to list positives and negatives for each guy. These are the positives. These are the things that I really like about him. His mechanics are really good. I'm talking about from the time he takes the snap until the time he lets go of the ball when he throws it. His mechanics are top notch. So he's got the great ball carriage. Okay, tip of the ball, top of the numbers. He pushes it up and back, and he comes through with that fast C motion to get the ball out of his hand. His platform is great when he drops. He's got his feet pretty much under his shoulders or near to under his shoulders. Which is where you want your quarterback with his platform. He's always on balance. Weight distribution is good. And so he's getting the ball out of his hand on time. And because his feet are good, his accuracy is good. Okay, which leads me to my second positive about him. He puts the ball on his receivers. He throws great back shoulder verticals, which is one of the hardest throws for a quarterback to make. He throws great deep balls, outside verticals and posts because he puts a lot of air under it. He throws fantastic red zone outside verticals where now he throws a 2, so he doesn't put air underneath it and he doesn't throw it on a line, with a lot of smoke behind it, but it's an in-between pass. It's a 2. And he touches it into the back pylon, and time after time when he throws those balls, he's right on the money. Another positive about Jayden Daniels is how he works the pocket. So what you want your quarterback to do is, if he cannot throw in rhythm and tempo, okay, he has to come to his second or his third read. And invariably, the pocket's going to start to collapse a little bit. He does not panic. Okay. There is no situation where you see his eyes come down to the rush. So he senses and he feels that stuff while he's focusing downfield on his read progressions, and he just slides in the pocket. That's a coached behavior, which leads me to my next positive on Jayden Daniels. He played in a great offensive system at LSU, and he was coached up. Now, why is this such a positive for quarterbacks like this? He's going to go into the NFL with a leg up on a lot of the other quarterbacks that are drafted into the league, or maybe even first or second year guys that are already in the league. Okay, another positive for Jayden Daniels. He's a great athlete. So when he pulls the ball down and runs, he can really hurt defenses. He's fast and he's elusive out there in the open field. When he was forced to get out and make something happen with his legs, he took advantage of that. And athletically, he's as fast or faster than most of the guys out there on the field when he pulls the ball down and runs. Okay, another area that's a real positive for Jayden Daniels is his leadership. And if you want to get a feel for a quarterback's leadership, listen to what his teammates say about him. And to a man, LSU's players speak in glowing terms of Jayden Daniels' leadership skills. And you put on top of that now the coaching staff that echoes those same sentiments. And they're talking about what a fantastic leader he is. And that, the thing with leadership and quarterbacks is if it's not sincere and it's not real, his teammates will see through the bullshit. Okay. And when you listen to like Brian Kelly talk about him, he talks about the players believe in him. And then the last thing with the positives for Jayden Daniels is the miscellaneous part. I mean, since he was on that stage in New York City to get the Heisman Trophy, what have we heard about Jayden Daniels in the news? Nothing. All he's been doing is taking care of business, getting himself ready for training camp, mini camp, OTAs, whatever's going to come up with the team that drafts him. What we aren't hearing from Jayden Daniels is any nonsense out there that's not football related, that is attention grabbing behavior, which becomes a big time distraction to the football team. Okay. Now, the negatives on Jayden Daniels, and I don't have hardly any on him. I will say that because of his build, he's tall and lean. He doesn't have a lot of meat on his bones. He's going to have to learn how to protect himself a lot better when he moves up to the NFL. There were times at LSU when he ran the ball where it was almost like at the end of the run and he's about ready to get hit, where he stood up almost as tall as he could and gave all of that surface area on his chest and upper body to the defensive guys that took full advantage of that, knocked the shit out of him. So he's going to get broken in two if he doesn't learn how to protect himself and take glancing blows when he gets into the NFL. And that's the one negative I have about him. Okay, moving to number 2. And I just want to start this by saying it's Michael Penix Jr. from the University of Washington. I think Michael Penix Jr. is the most NFL-ready quarterback in the draft this year. The most NFL-ready quarterback. Now, that being said, I've heard from more than one person say the following statement, which absolutely blows me away about Penix Jr. and the NFL and how quarterbacks are evaluated. And the statement goes like this: scouts have some concerns about Penix Jr., but the guys that really love him are the coaches. what are we doing here, guys? I mean, and when we're talking about the coaches that love him, who are we talking about? We're talking about the quarterback coaches in the NFL, the guys that know what they're looking at. All right. Not necessarily the scouts. The quarterback coaches love Michael Penix Jr. Why? Well, my positives on him, number one, he runs the offense. He stands in the pocket and he runs the offense. He goes through his progression reads. He checks the ball down when that clock in his head is running out. He runs the passing game like it's supposed to be run. Okay. And he can sling it. You know, he's a left-hander. He throws a tight spiral, a pretty ball, and he can make all the throws. He throws a great deep ball and intermediate to deep ball. So back shoulder verticals, corner routes, deep out routes, quick posts, which I call benders, and then just regular posts and outside verticals. I mean, he can throw the ball down the field, and he throws a very catchable ball and a very pretty ball. The other things that jump out to me with Penix is his poise in the pocket. Like Brady, Penix stays in the pocket and goes through his read progression. That's not a bad thing. Okay. And a lot of gurus and pundits are talking about Penix like that's not a good thing, him standing in there and working the pocket. And if you watch him when he throws, if he can't throw in rhythm and he's sensing again that the pocket's starting to break down a little bit from one side or the other, he just slides, gets in that gap, buys a little bit of time, and then gets the ball out. The other thing that Penix does that I think is puts him up in the top two, and like I said, makes him the most NFL ready quarterback. He played in a great system at UW, and he was well coached, just like Jayden Daniels. Played in a great system, and he was well coached. You watch him throw a lot of outside verticals where he's looking off safeties to move them or to freeze them and then coming back and making that throw. Now, that seems like maybe a commonplace with quarterbacks, and that's the way that it should be done, and it makes sense that that's the way it should be done. But not every quarterback in the draft this year does that. Not every quarterback in the draft this year has been coached to do that. And that's a skill that Penix Jr. takes with him to the NFL because the DBs at the professional level are a hell of a lot faster than the DBs at the college level. And so if you can get a safety to freeze, flat foot it, or take a step in the opposite direction, that gives you enough of a gap to eliminate him from getting in on the play so that you can get the ball out to the guy that you want to get it to in basic one-on-one coverage. He also throws with anticipation. So you can put any game on that he played this year, and I watched him play just about every game in 2023. He's making throws before receivers are coming out of their final break. Anticipating those throws, which again is such a huge skill to have in the NFL. Because if you're waiting for the receiver to be open before you throw it, that window has closed. And so you've got to deliver the ball before he's open, know he's going to be there, trust that he's going to be there. And those are skills right there, the anticipation on throws, along with his accuracy and the juice that he has in his arm, make him a great pro prospect. Also with Penix Jr., he's a hell of a leader. He is a great leader. Another thing that I find interesting and that I always try to do is after these games, and I know that the quarterback's probably going to be grabbed on the field for an on-field interview, I always make it a point to listen to what they say. And it's interesting to listen to the guys and what they say after they win and what they say after they lose a game. And much like Patrick Mahomes does for the Chiefs, Penix Jr. says all the right stuff. And again, that goes towards leadership right there, okay? Because you can bet that his teammates somewhere, somehow are going to hear what he said in that interview. And so to listen to Penix talk after games, there is no, I've got a diamond encrusted watch on and I'm going to stick it in the face of the opposing fans. There's no smack talking his opponent. He's very respectful. He's very grateful. He thanks the fans. He thanks his teammates. He says all the right stuff. And again, it reminds me of what Mahomes does at Kansas City. And that's a great skill to have for a quarterback. Now, the negatives on Penix Jr., the first one is what everybody else is concerned about, and that's his health history. So it's been well documented. When he was at Indiana, he had 2 knee injuries, 2 ACLs, 2 surgeries. Okay, so the knee injuries, the health issues, but he went to the combine. He was examined by the combine people there and came out of there with flying colors on the knee exam. So yeah, that's a concern. I think with any football player, it doesn't matter what position you're playing. It doesn't matter about your health history, your injury history. You can get hurt just stepping off the sideline onto the field. Kansas City linebacker in the Super Bowl snapped his Achilles tendon just taking a step off the sideline onto the field. I mean, freak things happen. You're going to have some organizations that are going to hold that against him. Now, the one negative that I've seen with him, and I think I'm onto something here. Who knows? But I think that one thing that he did this year is there was a couple of games where he came out and missed some early passes. And it was like he couldn't pull himself out of that. So he was inconsistent like the rest of the game. And as a quarterback, you've got to have a bad memory in terms of you don't give a damn what happened on the last play. You've got to forget about it. You got to have a bad memory on that and focus on the next play. Whatever happened, bad pass, bad decision, turnover, whatever, you can't change what just happened, but you can control what is about to happen with your mental outlook and focus. And I think that there were times where a couple games this year where he let early misses affect him. Now, I may be totally off on that. I don't know. That's just one of the things that I see as a potential negative for him. But Jayden Daniels and Michael Penix Jr., I think, are the top 2 guys coming out. Now, the next 3 guys, this is where it gets muddy. And I'm not as high on these next 3 guys as some other people are. I'm going to start with the number 3 guy then would be Drake Maye from North Carolina. And Drake Maye has got a big arm, okay? He put up really good numbers. His numbers were better 2 years ago, and I think that was because he had better personnel around him, plus Phil Longo, his offensive coordinator, who I think makes a big difference. I think any offensive coordinator makes a big difference with QB performance. And he lost Longo this last year. He went to Wisconsin as the OC and lost a couple of teammates, supporting players, and his numbers dropped this year, but he's got a big arm. He made big plays, and again, the scouts are saying, well, yeah, he reminds me of Justin Herbert, and he's got the body like Justin Herbert, and that really irritates me when people compare quarterbacks to other guys and say, well, I like him because he's built like this guy. That's ridiculous. But he's number 3. And this is why I put him at number 3. And these are the things that I like about Drake Maye. If all things are equal, you want a guy that's got some height to him and, has got a good arm, some juice in his arm. And Drake Maye has definitely got the size to build on. Okay, he stands in the pocket. And, he's pretty athletic. He doesn't sacrifice the passing game and the read progressions to pull it down and go. That's not what he's thinking. He's staying in the pocket, trying to work the pocket and buy time to find a receiver to get it to. So I like the fact that he stands in there. Okay, he was coached up. He redshirted his true freshman year. And his redshirt freshman year, which is the first year that he played and he was coached by Phil Longo. So he got all of the benefits of that. So we're talking about mechanics, and we're talking about the mental part of the game that goes into Phil Longo's offensive system. Now I'm going to go for the negatives on Drake Maye. The number 1 negative, he is wildly inaccurate with his throws. He misses the easiest throws that you could imagine, and he misses by a mile on some of these throws. And I'm not just talking about, he had a bad game here, or, game 4, he really struggled. This is all season long, and every game tape that you put on, you're going, wow, on some of these throws that he's just missing guys by a wide margin. And accuracy is something that can be coached a little bit with footwork, weight distribution, and balance and platform when you throw the ball, talking about with your feet. But I think with accuracy and quarterbacks, you've either got it or you don't. And that's going to be a concern. That's a concern of mine. I think that's going to be a problem for him when he moves up. Okay, and the reason why I think he has accuracy problems is his feet are sloppy a lot of times. He doesn't have a good platform. A lot of times he's got a really narrow base. So you want your feet under your shoulders or real close to being under your shoulders with your platform. He's got a really narrow platform. And I think this causes him some problems. And then when he strides, a lot of times he keeps his hips closed. And I talked about Bo Nix doing this in a show I did specifically on Nix, who does the same thing, which causes him to have accuracy problems. But I don't think his feet are real good in the pocket, and I think that gets him in trouble. Okay, he doesn't take easy throws, and this is going to be a reoccurring evaluation when I start talking about Caleb Williams. But Drake Maye doesn't take easy throws. And so we go back to what a quarterback's job description is: execute the offense. Every quarterback that I've ever coached, I've said, don't ever get bored with completing passes. If you're throwing a 4-yard check down or a 5-yard check down, great, awesome. Keep throwing those. We'll throw them all the way down the field. He disregards those easy throws to throw the ball further down the field. And that's something that gets quarterbacks in big trouble when they do that. It makes your offense really inconsistent. And that's a negative on Drake Maye for me. Number 4 would be Caleb Williams. Okay, here we go. Mr. Williams, these are the positives. This is what I like about him. He is athletic as hell. He can do things on the field that you just don't see quarterbacks do. I've said this before about him. I think Caleb Williams might out Patrick Mahomes. He may be even more Mahomes-like than Mahomes is. And what I mean when I say that is he can throw the ball at any arm slot that you could imagine. He can come over the top, 3/4 sidearm, underhand. There's times where he's throwing bubble screens or punch screens, and he's got a defensive end or an edge rusher coming unblocked that he can't throw the ball through. So he drops down like lower than sidearm and basically throws a spiral underhand and hits the receiver right in the chest. You know, he's like Mahomes where he can sprint to the left sideline, and while he's got his chest and hips facing the sideline, he can spit the ball on the move downfield and accurately put it between the two numbers on the receiver's chest. So he's freakish in doing that stuff, okay? It's the other things I think that are going to bite him in the ass, and I'll get to those here in a second. Okay, Caleb Williams is accurate. You know, he's accurate for what he does with his feet and his mechanics. He can really put the ball on receivers. It's kind of like the way he plays is almost an oxymoron in that he does things that you wouldn't teach a quarterback to do mechanically, but he can still put the ball on guys. So he's got great accuracy. He's got a very live arm. Okay, he's got a very live arm. He can make all the throws. He can fit it into tight spots. He can put it on guys. Okay, he's got great swagger, obviously. That's a skill that every starting quarterback needs to have. You have got to have swagger to a certain extent, and your teammates feed off of that. And he has it 100% grade A swagger. How he carries himself on the field, just how he moves out there, and the vibe and aura around him is a lot of confidence. Okay, a lot of confidence, and I like that about him. Okay, he's coached up to an extent. Riley's got a really good passing game concept. Okay, so he's got that. Caleb Williams has that in his back pocket, but it doesn't look like they spent a whole lot of time working on mechanics with him. And as I said, he was allowed to do some stuff within that offense that I don't think he's going to be able to get away with at the NFL level. I don't think an offensive coordinator is going to let him get away with that kind of stuff. Okay, let's move on to the negatives on Caleb Williams. The first one, I'm going to go on what I think is the biggest negative on him for me, and that is the miscellaneous stuff. I know a lot of people disagree with this, but this has been my experience coaching quarterbacks for over 30 years, you know, at the college level, and just watching and observing NFL guys over that time period as well. But what he's doing off the field, well, let me put it to you this way. Michael Penix Jr., Jaden Daniels, J.J. McCarthy, and Drake May. What have we heard about those guys since the end of the season? Nothing. Well, can we say the same thing about Caleb Williams? No. And what are we hearing about Caleb? We're hearing about what he and his people want for his contract structure, a piece of the ownership of the team that drafts him. And then talking about nail polish, doing photo shoots, wearing a dress, a pink phone cover, which doesn't matter to me a whole lot. Possibly wearing lipstick at a USC game. I mean, that is all stuff that the franchise does not need to deal with. And at a certain point in time, that becomes a distraction and a pain in the ass. So when Chicago, if they do draft him with the number one pick, how many questions from the media, how many conversations with the media are going to be X's and O's football based? And how many questions are they going to have to answer about all the other crap that he does off the field? Okay, that's a concern, and that's a big negative for me. Okay, Caleb's got shaky mechanics, and it gets him in trouble. A lot of times when he throws the ball, he can get his feet set, his platform right, and he doesn't do it. And that causes him problems. So when I say that he's accurate with the ball and he can make all the throws, he is. Just think how good and awesome he could be if he was mechanically sound and consistent with his mechanics. Another thing that gets him in trouble mechanically is when he thinks the pocket is starting to break down on him. So where Jayden Daniels and Michael Penix Jr. will slide just a little bit, shuffle away, keep that ball up, keep their eyes downfield. It is very obvious that Caleb's eyes come down to the rush, and the football, in a lot of cases, drops down to his hip or below his hip. Okay, which looks cool. And people are talking about that at the water cooler on Monday at work. But when he's got the ball in one hand down by the top of his thigh pad, and it comes time for him to deliver the football, how long is it going to take him to push that thing all the way back up and get it out to where it should have been in the first place with better mechanics? All right, he doesn't take easy throws. Now, I have heard other guys say it's almost like he gets bored completing easy passes. And I said the same thing about Drake May. That's a kiss of death for a quarterback. And you go back and look at Tom Brady and how he played. What did Brady do his entire career? He executed the offense the way it was designed to be run. Okay, if he couldn't get the ball downfield, he checked it down. But he was always completing balls and moving the stick. If you have a quarterback that ignores underneath throws because he's bored with them or it's not flashy enough, that's a recipe for disaster. Okay, and then the last negative on Caleb Williams is leadership. Okay, I've discussed with the other quarterbacks. You listen to what teammates and coaches say about leadership of Jayden Daniels, Michael Penix Jr. I haven't heard Lincoln Riley one time talk about Caleb Williams' leadership skills. And there was some pretty damaging stuff coming out of the bowl game that USC played in this year. By the way, Caleb Williams chose to opt out of that game. But there was some pretty damaging comments coming out of that bowl game by players on USC's team about the type of team they were in that bowl game when they had a different guy taking snaps. That's not good. But I think with what he brings into the league right now, I'm not sure that Chicago is not going to be in the same situation as they were with Justin Fields. And I think that they're going to get to a point where it begins to become tiresome when they have to consistently talk about the crap that he's doing off the field instead of the great things that he's doing on the field. I hope I'm wrong because he definitely is fun to watch. I just think that in the NFL, these teams can't afford to draft guys that are fun to watch. That leads me to my number 5 guy. And, you could take J.J. McCarthy and you could put him at number 3. You could put him at number 4. I like J.J. McCarthy. I think that all things considered and everything that he brings to the table, I like him. All he does is win. And that's job one for a quarterback. And that's my first positive on him is he wins. He lost like one game at Michigan and, of course, won the national title this year. Now, you've got people that go, well, he didn't have to carry the load for Michigan. They had a great run game. They had a great defense. He didn't have to be the star and carry them. That's correct. But what he did on the field with his leadership and moving the ball and competing and running the offense. Again, here we go. Execute the offense. He did that, and he did it great. So here are the positives on J.J. McCarthy. He moves the stick or moves the sticks, and he executes the offense, okay? Another positive, he played for an NFL head coach, Jim Harbaugh, and he was coached by a former NFL QB, Jim Harbaugh. And then the little tricks of the trade coming from, again, Harbaugh of playing the position in the NFL, which Jim did. And that's a bonus, big time. Okay, that's a big positive for McCarthy. Okay, I like his pocket presence. Again, he does the little subtle things in the pocket. It's just real subtle, short movements to get in those gaps to deliver the ball. McCarthy does it really well. And when he's moving in the pocket, when he can't throw in rhythm, his eyes are always downfield. So he doesn't get frantic. His eyes don't drop down to the pass rush. Okay, he's tough. He's physically tough. I've talked about this before with him, but one of the plays that really cracked me up this year against Ohio State was when he came to the sideline on a timeout and they had the camera right in his face and he pushed his face mask up and turned his head and spit a big, huge gob of blood out of his mouth, just pulled his face mask back down, listened to what coach was telling him, and then went back out and kept playing. He's a tough guy. He takes hits. You watch him on film where he's running boots or he's scrambling, and he's not sliding a lot of times. He's down in the red zone running bootlegs, and it's him and a DB and the goal line, and he's dropping his pad level and trying to truck the DB and getting in the end zone for a touchdown. He's a tough kid. Okay, I've got 2 negatives on JJ. The first one is when he takes his drop, his last step of his drop puts his platform too wide. And he almost never throws from that platform. And because his feet are too wide because of that last big step, if this is his back foot and this is his front foot, he either has to slide that back foot up to get his feet under his shoulders where they should have been originally, or he has to take that front foot and slide it back to get his feet underneath his shoulders where they should have been originally if he hadn't taken that big giant step. Well, what problems does this cause J.J. McCarthy? Instead of getting the ball out on time at the end of that drop, because he has to take that slide step with either his back or his front foot, he's throwing balls late. Now he's completing passes, but there are times where he's throwing seam passes and his receiver's getting the dog shit knocked out of him. And in the NFL, that's going to be either a pick or a broken up play because of the speed of the DBs. But the receiver shouldn't have been getting lit up because JJ's throwing the ball late because his feet aren't right when he gets to the end of his drop. it causes him problems on other throws too. Now, again, he's completing balls, but the difference when you're throwing the ball late and on time is what the receiver does after he catches it. When you throw it late, he catches it and gets tackled. When you throw it on time to where he's got the most amount of grass, when he catches the ball, he's able to catch it and turn up and run for yardage. Okay, the other thing with McCarthy, and it's kind of like Drake May, he's got some accuracy issues on throws where he just really misses badly. And these aren't throws where he's getting pressured excessively. He's throwing off balance because he's got someone in his face. These are throws where he can get his feet set and he just misfires. He throws a lot of dimes. You watch him play, he throws a lot of dimes. But every game, and with these quarterbacks, you don't watch highlight tapes, you watch entire games so that you can do a Clint Eastwood and see the good, the bad, and the ugly. And there's some ugly throws from J.J. McCarthy where, like Drake May, these are balls that should be easy completions for NFL quarterbacks that he's missing badly. And I think that if he gets his feet cleaned up a little bit, that's going to help him out. But accuracy, I truly believe you either have it or you don't. And the guys that are consistently accurate, Jayden Daniels, Michael Penix Jr., those are the guys that make your offense more successful because you're consistently completing balls and moving the sticks. Okay, so those are my five QBs that may go in the first round. There's a question mark going into this draft as to whether Michael Penix Jr. is going to be a first-round pick. I've got him as the number 2 guy, but that's me. There's a lot of things that are going to go into the success of all 5 of these guys going in. A lot of it depends on the team they go to, and the team they go to, what system they're running, QB-friendly offense, what kind of offensive coordinator and quarterback coach they have, because there are some in the NFL that are just a hell of a lot better than others. Whether or not they have some time on their side to ease into learning the NFL game, or are they going to be pushed into the forefront right away, which has hurt a number of promising quarterbacks in the history of the NFL that have gone in as first-round selections and were pushed into action as the guy before they were ready. And, I think Caleb Williams is going to be pushed in to play right away. I think Drake May is also. I think Jayden Daniels and Michael Penix are more ready than those 2 guys to step in and be successful right away. And I think JJ is going to be a year or 2 out. That's just the way I see it. All 5 of these guys are going to be successful quarterbacks, and put Bo Nix in there as well. I like Bo Nix. He's got a couple of little mechanical glitches that I'm not a big fan of, but all things considered, I like what he brings to the table. So those 6 guys are going to be successful in the NFL. The level of success and how fast that happens, we're going to have to wait and see. So if you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button, and please subscribe for more videos on my thoughts on quarterback play at the college level and the NFL. And I appreciate all of you that have subscribed. And let's see what happens on draft day with these 5 quarterbacks plus Bo Nix. This is QB Unfiltered, and remember, always throw the ball short to guys who can score. See ya.